class 5. Today we will discuss the rest portions of chapter 9, which is air and water. So all of you take out your science, which is Millennium Science for Juniors 5, and the publication is Millennium Book Source Private Limited. All of you open chapter 9, page number 86. In my previous video, I discussed about the characteristics of air, what is atmosphere, layers of atmosphere, composition of air, characteristics of air. Now let's study about the uses of air. Air has many uses. We use air without knowing that we are using it. Some important uses of air are as follows. Like number 1, breathing, burning, material and information carrier, pollination, and drying purposes. And there are so many other uses also. Now the first one is breathing. Let's see. All living things need oxygen to breathe, which is present in the air. Plants and animals use it to produce energy from their food by the process of respiration. Now all living things means like we need oxygen to breathe, which is present in the air, as oxygen is a very important gas. As I told you previously also that oxygen is very important gas for us to survive. Okay, then plants and animals use it to produce energy from their food by the process of respiration. Yes, plants and animals use use the gases just to produce energy from their food by the process of respiration. As plants, what they do, they need carbon dioxide to produce their food, and animals and other living beings need oxygen. Okay, then burning. Air is required for burning. Oxygen, besides being essential for life, helps to burn things. To keep a fire burning, people often fan the flames so that more air reaches the fire, which keeps it burning. Now air is also used for burning also, as oxygen is very essential for life and it helps to burn the things. It helps to burn the paper, it helps to burn the wood, it helps to burn the clothes and so many other things. Then what we should do to keep a fire burning? So, to keep a fire burning, what the people do? People just fan the flames so that the more air can reach the fire, and which will help it to keep it, which will help just in keeping it burning. Okay. Then the third is material and information carrier. Now the air around us carries all kinds of materials. It brings with it the scent of flowers and the sound of music. This gives us information about the changing weathers. When we speak or clap our hands, the air around us vibrates. These vibrations reach our ears, and our ears turn them into sound. Now, the air around us carries all kinds of materials, as it brings with the scent of flowers, with the sound of music. And why? Because this gives us information about the changing weather. Okay. Now when we speak or clap our hands, what happens? The air around us vibrates, and that vibrations reach our eardrums, which makes our ears, or which eardrums, which converts that waves into sound, or you can say that our ears turn them into sound, as you have read in the previous chapter. In chapter I think 4. Yes, in chapter 4, nervous system, you have heard about the we have read about the ears now, that the sound waves goes through the outer ear, then ear canal, then eardrum, then it passes through the system of 3 bones, then inner ear, and that inner ear, the cochlea, sends a message to the brain. Okay, then pollination. Now, air carries pollen of one flower to the other, which helps in formation of fruits in plants. Now, air carries pollen of one flower to another, means just exchange of seeds. Okay, so air is a source through which a pollination can also be done. Okay, which helps in the formation of fruits in plants. Now see page number 87. Fifth is drying purposes. Air is a very good drying agent. We dry our clothes in air. It also dries fruits, vegetables and spices for making pickles and for storing purposes. Yes, for drying purposes, as air is also used, or it is a very good agent for drying. It is a very good drying agent. Okay, we use air just to dry our clothes, to dry it. Also helps in drying fruits, vegetables, spices for making pickles and for storing purposes also. Okay, now this is how air proves to be extremely important to us in many different ways. Now let's study about water. Now we will study about water. Let's see the characteristics of water. Water is another life supporting natural resource available on the earth to all the living beings. Many life processes going on inside our body need water. Plants also photosynthesize with the help of water. It also required for the germination and growth of a seed. Now, yes, water is also a very important life supporting natural resource. If we don't get water, then we will not be able to survive, as our body weight contains 70 to 75% of water only. Okay, it consists 70 to 75% water only. That is why water is very important for many life processes going on inside our body need water. It plants also photosynthesize with the help of water. Plants also need water for the process of photosynthesis. Okay, class, there is a mistake in the spelling of photosynthesis. Here it is written PHOTOSYNTHESISE. Cut the E after S. Okay, the spelling is wrong of photosynthesis. With the help of water, it is also required for the germination and growth of a seed also. Yes, if a seed does not get water, then what will happen? The new plant will not grow. Okay, that's why it is very important for the germination and the growth of a seed also. Now, a universal solvent. Water can dissolve a number of substances in it. It is a universal solvent. In it is this property of water that makes it most useful for us. However, due to this property, it may have impurities present in it. For example, seawater contains a large number of soluble and insoluble impurities. Insoluble impurities can be seen, but soluble impurities cannot be seen. Salt and sugar dissolve in water and are not visible when mixed, whereas sand and gravel do not dissolve and can be seen in water. Yes, water is a universal solvent because it can dissolve a number of substances in it. Dissolve means mixing any substance which becomes invisible to us. Okay, mixing any substance into a water which when that substance becomes invisible. Okay, now it is this property of water that makes it most useful for us. However, due to this property, it may have impurities present in it also. Yes, the water can have so many some impurities also, as seawater contains a large number of soluble and insoluble impurities. Seawater has so many soluble and insoluble impurities, like some are soluble and some are insoluble. What are the soluble impurities and what are the insoluble impurities? Soluble impurities are those impurities which are invisible in water, so which are not visible, which are visible. Insoluble are which are invisible or which cannot be dissolved, which can be seen. And the and the soluble impurities are those impurities which cannot be seen, which are invisible in water. Okay, now salt and sugar dissolve in water. Yes, so when we add salt or water, then what happens? That salt and water gets mixed with the water and we can't see the particles of salt and sugar in the water. This proves that salt and sugar are insoluble. Okay, and when we try to mix a sand or a gravel into a water, then what happens? It doesn't gets mixed. Okay, so which proves that sand and gravel are soluble, salt and sugar are soluble and sand and gravel are insoluble. Okay, the substances which can be seen are insoluble and the substances which cannot be seen are soluble. Okay, now water may also contain germs that causes diseases. Due to these impurities, water becomes unfit for drinking. However, some impurities present in water can be removed to make it pure and clean. Now, water can contain so many germs which can cause diseases also, as water contains the insoluble impurities also as well as the soluble impurities also. Okay, that's why the water becomes unfit for drinking, and for making it suitable for drinking, we should clean our water, or we should remove that impurities from the water. Now let's see how we will clean the water. Cleaning water. The methods of purifying water depend on whether the impurities are dissolved in it or not. Yes. Now the method of purifying water depends on whether the impurities are dissolved in it or not. Means जो भी impurities हैं वो water में dissolve हुई है, mix हुई है या फिर नहीं हुई. क्यों? क्योंकि insoluble properties को हम देख सकते हैं. We can see the insoluble impurities, but soluble impurities we can't see. Okay. Now, removing insoluble impurities. How we will remove the insoluble impurities? Insoluble impurities means which can be seen. Insoluble impurities can be removed by the following methods: sedimentation and decantation. Now there is one method which is known as sedimentation and decantation. Now let's perform the activity 8. We will understood the sedimentation and decantation. Okay, what is given? Read the first point. Take a glass beaker filled with water, put some soil into it and stir it well. Now leave the beaker undisturbed for 10 to 15 minutes. Observe the water in the beaker. What do you see? You will observe that the soil has settled down at the bottom of the beaker. The water will also appear clear. Now, take a glass of water filled with take a glass of water, and after that put some soil into it and mix it well or stir it well. Mix that soil and water. After that, leave that glass or beaker undisturbed, means don't touch or don't disturb that glass of water or beaker for 10 to 15 minutes. And what you will observe? You will observe that the sand or the soil will settle down at the bottom of the beaker, and you will see the water clear. The water will appear clear. Okay, now this is called sedimentation. Now turn to the page number 88. Now let's study activity 9. Take an empty beaker and carefully transfer the clear water obtained in the beaker in the previous activity. Take care that the sediments do not mix and flow out with the water. What do you observe? You will get clear water in the other beaker. Soil sediments are left in the previous beaker only. Now what we had done in the activity number 8, we have taken a glass of water and we mixed some soil in that glass, and we leave it undisturbed for 10 to 15 minutes. And after that, after 10 to 15 minutes, what we observed? We observed that all the soil sediments were settled down at the bottom of the glass or a beaker. Now that was sedimentation. Now in decantation, what we do? In decantation, what we have to do? We have to take an empty beaker or a glass. Then we have to carefully transfer that clear water from first beaker to the another और the second beaker. Okay, हमने क्या किया था एक्टिविटी 8 में? एक पानी का ग्लास लिया था, उसमें कुछ सॉइल डाली थी. We take a glass of water and added some soil and left it for 10 to 15 minutes. After 10 to 15 minutes, what we see? We see that the water was appearing clear and all the soil sediments were settled down at the bottom. Okay, now what we have to do? We have to take another empty beaker and transfer that clear water with soil. We have to transfer that water into an empty beaker or a glass. Okay, we have to transfer it very carefully so that the sediments of soil does not get mixed or flow out with water. Okay, now what did you observe? You will get clear water in other beaker. Soil sediments are left in the previous beaker only. And when you will transfer the water into another beaker, what will happen? You will observe that all the soil sediments were present in beaker A and the clean water was transferred in beaker B. Okay, you will not find a soil sediment in beaker B. Now the soil settles down because it is heavier than water and insoluble in it. This is called sedimentation. Yeah. Why does the soil gets settled down in the water? Because it is heavier than water and it is insoluble in water also. That is why it settles down at the bottom of a glass or a beaker, and this process is known as sedimentation. And the impure particles which settle down are called sediments. Now, and this impure particles are known as the sediments. Now continue the activity with activity 9. Okay, activity 8 is for sedimentation and activity 9 is for decantation. The process of pouring out of the clear water into another tumbler after sedimentation without disturbing the settled impurities is called decantation. Decantation is the process of pouring out. Pouring out means just to transfer clear water from, into another tumbler. after the process of sedimentation without disturbing the settled impurities or without disturbing the soil, as we did in activity 9. Okay. Now, see activity number 10. Mix some soil with water in a beaker. Take a circular piece of filter paper, fold the filter paper to prepare a cone as shown. Now fit this cone in a funnel. Put this setup on a glass bottle. Slowly pour the soil water in the funnel. You will get clear water in the bottle while the soil will be left in the paper filter cone. Now, what you have to do? You have to take a beaker filled with water, and after that you have to mix some soil in that beaker, and after that we have to take a filter paper, and we have to take a circular piece of filter paper and fold the paper in that order to make it a cone. After making a cone, put that cone in a bottle as you are seeing in picture also. Okay, you can see the picture also. Now, after that, put this setup on a glass bottle. Now fit that cone in a funnel. You can see that the cone is fitted into a funnel, and after that funnel is placed on a glass bottle. Then after that, they slowly pour the soil water in that funnel. Okay, and after pouring what did that into that glass water, they get the clear water, as the filter paper helps to filter the water or to stop the soil particles with it only. And okay, now, or we can say that the soil will be left in the filter paper cone. Now, did you know a special chemical called alum can be used to increase the rate of sedimentation? Alum particles stick to the dirt particles, making them heavier. Hence, the dirt particles settle down faster. This process is called loading. Now, there is a special chemical which is known as alum, and alum can be used to increase the rate of sedimentation, as what does the alum do? Alum particles get stick to the dirty particles, which makes them heavier. Okay, and when the dirt particles will become heavier, then what will happen? They will settle down faster, and that process is known as loading. Then filtration. The method of removing insoluble impurities from water by making it pass through a filter is called filtration. Now, the method of removing insoluble impurities from water by making it pass through a filter is called filtration, as we did in activity 10. Okay, or you can see another picture also, that the beaker is tied up with a piece of cloth, and the water is getting into it. Now, second, removing soluble impurities. Now let's see how we will remove the soluble impurities. Soluble impurities present in water can be removed by the following methods. First, evaporation, distillation. Evaporation and distillation we can remove. Now, in the evaporation, the process of separating soluble impurities from water by heating is called evaporation. Now, that process which is used for separating soluble impurities from water just by boiling or heating the water, that is known as evaporation. As on heating, what happens? Only water evaporates, leaving impurities behind. The water evaporates and the impurities are left behind only. Then vapors are collected and cooled down to get pure water. And after some time, what happens? The vapors are collected, or you can say this, take a bowl, fill it with the water, then heat that bowl, or heat that, boil that water, place a lid on that bowl. When you will open that lid or the bowl, what you will see on the top, on the surface of a lid, you will see the water vapors, and that water vapors are collected and cooled down just to get pure water. Okay, now see activity number 11 on page number 89. Now see activity 11. Take a glass of water and add 3 to 4 spoonfuls of sugar. Stir it well so that the sugar dissolves completely. Now heat this solution for some time. What do you notice? You will notice that the water will turn into vapor on heating and escape into air. The sugar will separate and remain in the container. Now what you have to do in activity 11, you have to take a glass of water and add 3 to 4 spoons of sugar and stir it well. Stir it well means mix it well. When till that the sugar dissolves into it completely, and after dissolving, heat that solution for some time. And after heating, you will observe that the water will turn into the water vapors on heating and escape into air. Okay, and the sugar which was present in that solution will be separated and remain in that container only. Okay, now let's see the second, distillation. The water is lost in air during evaporation. However, in the process of distillation, the water vapor is changed back into water. A setup is used for distillation. In this process, soluble impurities are separated and clean water is obtained separately. This clean water is called distilled water. Now, the water is lost in air during evaporation as the water is converted into water vapors in the process of evaporation. But in the process of distillation, what happens? The water vapors are changed back into water. Okay, there is a setup which is used for the process of distillation, and in this process all the soluble impurities are separated and clean water is obtained separately. Okay, then and the water which is clean through this process is known as the distilled water. In this process of distillation, the impure water solution is heated in a flask fitted with a glass tube in a cork. The water vapor formed passes through the glass tube while the impurities remain behind in the flask. The glass tube is cooled from outside by circulating cold water around it. The water vapor comes in contact with cold test tube and condenses to form water. This condensed water vapor is collected in another flask. Okay, class, see the picture of the process of distillation as it is very important. Okay, now here is a one stand on which a burner is placed, and on that burner there is a gauze which is placed, and on that gauze there is a flask with some water closed with a cork, and that flask is connected with a glass tube to another flask, and in that glass tube there is a test tube, you can see. Okay, now what happens in this process? The water present in the first flask gets heat up and the water converts into water vapor, and after taking a form of water vapor, the water vapors are passed through a glass tube into another flask, and that glass test tube is covered with a test tube which circulates the outside water and which helps the test tube to keep it cold only, or okay, to keep it cooled. Now the glass tube is cooled from outside by circulating cold water around it. You can see there are two passes on a glass tube. One is showing the water out and the second one is showing water in. Okay. Now, and this condense. So what happens as the water vapors passes through the test tube, through glass tube into another flask, and in that test tube, with the help of the cold water, the water vapors are transformed again into a form of water only, and a clean water gets connected into another flask. Okay, now let's see the purification of water. We are blessed with powerful resources like air and water, but many of our activities are polluting these resources. We need to follow habits that help to reduce pollution. Impure water, if used for cooking and drinking, can lead to diseases like typhoid, cholera, jaundice, etc. Therefore, purification of water is necessary before its consumption. Now, yes, we are blessed with some powerful resources like air and water, as they both are very important for us, and many of our activities are polluting these resources, and we need to follow some habits which will help to reduce the pollution. Okay. Now, the impure water, if used for drinking and cooking, can lead to diseases like typhoid, cholera, and jaundice, etc. Now, if we use impure water, means the dirty water for cooking or drinking, then that water can lead to diseases like typhoid, cholera, jaundice, etc. And therefore, purification of water is very necessary for its consumption. Okay. Now, the purification of water is very important before consuming a water. Now, turn to the page number 90. Now, in this we will study how to purify a water at home and at water works. Now, let's see at home. We can purify water at home by boiling, filtering, using purifier or RO, which means reverse osmosis system. We can purify water at home just by boiling a water, by filtering a water, by using purifiers or RO systems. First point, boiling water for 10 to 15 minutes helps in destroying the germs present in it. This water can be stored in clean covered containers. Now, if we boil a water for 10 to 15 minutes, then what will happen? All the germs will be destroyed present in that water, and that water we can store in a clean and covered containers also. Okay. Now, the second point, water filters, purifiers, RO systems also purify water. These should be cleaned and serviced on a regular basis. Yes, nowadays water filters, purifiers, RO systems are used for purifying a water, but these systems should be cleaned and serviced on a regular basis. Okay, it doesn't mean that once we set up a filter at our home and after that we never clean up, we never get serviced it. Okay, we don't take care of that. It doesn't mean this. Then the third is potassium permanganate can also be used for water purification. Yes, potassium permanganate is also an agent which is used for purifying a water. Okay. Now, at water works, the water works department purifies the water before supplying it to our homes in the following ways. Let's see. Sedimentation. First, water from rivers and lakes is first collected in large tanks. Water is made to stand undisturbed for some days in large sedimentation tanks. Here, all the solid and insoluble impurities settle down as sediments. Sunlight also kills many germs. Alum helps in sedimentation and purification. Now, in sedimentation, what happens? Water from lakes and rivers first collected into a large tanks, and after that, water is made to stand undisturbed for some days, as we did in activity 8. Okay, we get undisturbed for in large sedimentation tanks. Then here all the solid and insoluble impurities settle down. When we keep water undisturbed, then what will happen? All the insoluble impurities or the solids will get settle down as sediments, and sunlight also kills many germs. Okay, then many of them use alum, as alum helps in the sedimentation and purification. And alum, what does the alum do? Alum particles get sticks to the dirty particles, and which makes the particles heavier, and which helps in the faster settling down of the dirt particles. Okay, then the second is filtration. Clean water is then filtered through sand beds so that even small insoluble impurities can be separated. Then from the sedimentation tank, water is transferred to the filtration or the filtration tank, in which there are sand beds, or they are filtered through sand beds so that जो small insoluble impurities हैं, that can also be separated. After that, third is chlorination. Chlorination is added to the filtered water to kill the germs present in it. Then there is a chlorination tank through which water is transferred. Okay, and or we can say that the chlorine is added to the filtered water just to kill the germs present in that water. And now the water, and after adding the chlorine, water becomes safe for drinking, and that safe drinking water is then stored in covered tanks and supplied through pipelines to our homes. Okay. Now this drinking water is then stored in covered tanks and supplied through pipelines to our homes. Class, okay, I hope this chapter is clear to all of you. And this chapter is the last chapter of our syllabus. So all of you complete the exercises on page number 91 and 92, as well as complete your all chapters work. Okay, and start preparing for your exams, as your exams will be from 21st September. So start preparing it. Okay, so thank you class.